Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. Welcome back to Sunday morning in the old cookbook show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of the new Vico cookbook, published in 1936. Vico was a company that made aluminum cookware, all kinds of aluminum cookware, bakeware, baking tins, cake tins, Dutch ovens, all kinds of things, and they were massive in the pre-World War II era. And I really like this cookbook because they're a cookware company. They don't have to worry about shoehorning in a particular ingredient. The recipes can be about cooking anything as long as you cook it in a pot, a pan, a frying pan, or bake it in a cake tin or Dutch oven. Pretty much any cooking that you do, you could use one of their products. And so the cookbook has this really wide range. And there's no hard sell in here. In the 1930s, most cookbooks, company cookbooks, advertising cookbooks, marketing cookbooks, whatever you want to call them, were really hard sell. This one is not. So today we're going to make something called unbaked brownies. Unbaked, but it still gets cooked. I'm supposed to use my Vico double boiler, but I don't have one. So this one will have to do. And I'm supposed to melt 2 squares of chocolate. And for those of you who haven't seen a square of chocolate, these are squares of chocolate. And I say that because 2024, it's probably been maybe 8, 9, 10 years since most companies made chocolate in this square format. This square format was brought forward very early on by Baker's Chocolate, the Baker's Chocolate Company. They came up with this square format and then formatted all of their recipes to use 1, 2, 3 squares of chocolate, or 1.5 or 2.5, and it's got this break in the middle so that you can break them in half. Squares of chocolate. But right from the very beginning, they always put in the recipe that 1 square of chocolate equals 1 ounce. They do the same here. It calls for 2 squares or 2 ounces of chocolate. I'm going to put those in to the double boiler and start melting them. And I kind of make that point because when the manufacturers moved away from using that format, it confused a lot of people. There are a lot of people who just don't understand that a square has a weight equivalent, 1 ounce. And they look at the new bar and they think, oh, it's broken into these pieces, so 1 piece must equal 1 square. And I still get comments about that today. It happened so long ago, and yet still today people are asking about it. So, chocolate's melting in the double boiler. I'm supposed to put in condensed milk. Again, condensed milk. Sweetened condensed milk if you live in the United States. Everybody says sweetened. If you live in the United States and Canada and you buy condensed milk, it has to be sweetened by law. In order to say condensed milk on the label, it has to be sweetened. In order for it to say evaporated milk on the label, it cannot be sweetened by law. So, having these cans say sweetened is at best redundant and at worst confusing to some people. So, all of the sugar in this recipe coming from the condensed milk. My double boiler is boiling. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And I'm supposed to melt the chocolate into the condensed milk and cook it until it thickens, which could be about 5 minutes. So, still some lumps of chocolate. So I'll just keep stirring and melting. Okay, that feels like it's thickening a little bit. So when I first put it in the pan, it felt really thick. And then it warmed up and it felt really thin because it had warmed up. And then after cooking it for a little while, it starts to thicken again as the sugars change state. So now we come to the next 2 ingredients. And this is where viewers who need to have a Stalinist figure here, or a Benito Mussolini, or who's another guy, Nicolae Ceausescu figurehead on screen telling them what to do. This is where they get really angry with me in the comment section. Next ingredient is vanilla wafer crumbs, and then the second ingredient is walnuts. I don't particularly like vanilla wafers. Luckily, in the note, it says graham crackers may be used in place of vanilla wafers. So I'm going to use graham cracker crumbs. I took 1 sleeve of graham crackers, put them in a food processor. It comes out to about 2 cups. which is what they're asking for. I can imagine that any number of cookies would go really well in this. Biscoff cookies would be amazing in here, I would think. Social tea would work really well. I'm just not a fan of vanilla wafers. Here's the thing. In your own kitchen, cooking like this, you can make those substitutions. You don't have to follow a recipe exactly to make the recipe. It's just a method. The whole idea is that you're putting in some sort of cookie crumb to give it body and stability. Okay, I'll put the last of the crumbs in and mix those in. Next ingredient is walnuts. And if you've been around here a while, you know I'm not a fan of walnuts or English walnuts. I love black walnuts. I love white walnuts, or they're mostly called butternuts. I love those two walnuts, but English walnuts, no. So I'm going to use pecans. I would use black walnuts or butternuts, but they are far too expensive to experiment in a dish like this that I've never made before on the first go round. So we're going to use pecans, and we'll get these mixed in. Now it tells me I'm supposed to put this into a buttered Vico aluminum biscuit pan. I don't know what that is. So I go to the key in the back of the book and I look, and it is essentially, the picture that they show is essentially a rectangular cake pan that comes in two convenient sizes, but they don't tell you what the two convenient sizes are. So I have to imagine in my brain, one is square and one is rectangular. The one that they have in the back kind of looks like it, proportion-wise, is probably an 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 13 or something like that. I decided for this amount of ingredients, 9 by 9 square is probably what I need to use. Okay, so get this into the pan before it cools too much or hardens up. Okay, so I've switched to an offset palette knife to try to smooth out the top a little bit. 9 by 9 may have been too big. 8 by 8 might have been the right size. Okay, so I've got some walnuts left over. I'm going to sprinkle them on top. Tells me that I need to place in the refrigerator for several hours or overnight. So, I'll get this in the fridge and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, Jules.
Hey, Glenn. Ooh, something chocolatey.
Unbaked brownies.
Thank you. They are sticky.
Yeah, more of a confectionery than
They're like
anything.
a fudge.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're a fudge.
Yeah. This is something that ends up on the Christmas sideboard in tiny little squares.
Yes.
Because realistically, a large piece
That's
of
too
this is
much.
it's just gonna send you over the edge.
Is there another
Kids-
flavor in it though?
Kids screaming. No.
No, just the chocolate. The looks like graham crackers.
Chocolate, graham crackers, pecans, and condensed milk.
It's the condensed milk that adds that different flavor to it. That was a surprise to me because that's not usual. All right, there you go. Easy to make. There you go.
So,
Surprise guests. Ah!
yeah. Christmas sideboard. Any big holiday thing where you have to put little snacks on the edge. This would be good for it.
You could probably even roll them into a ball and put a stick on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.